who wants you to take out the plug? They want to take out the plug, and he doesn't like the ammunition.
You don't like it?
No. Who wants you to take out the plug? They tar ut pluggen.
Jag tror det.
Backling här.
More less makes more, or more makes less. More is less. Less is more.
Seven.
Come around.
Tillsammans ser andra sidan är ni klara. Så vi gör tillsammans på 3. 1, 2, 3. Andra sidan är ni klara! Ja, vi provar en gång till. Så, okej, publiken, då kör vi. Andra sidan är ni klara!
Welcome back to Ostersund, 251 days after the sunset in Oslo. After a thrilling 24-25 BMW IBU World Cup season, we have kick-started things today at one of the spiritual homes of biathlon. The women's race already done and dusted. This is the course for the men's 4x7.5 kilometre relay, and the atmosphere has just got better and better as the evening draws in. And well, what an evening of racing we have in store. Here's a look at the weather. Temperature dropping just ever so slightly, 4 degrees, but it has been very blustery today, as you'd expect from the range here at Ostersund. It has been very unpredictable, predictably unpredictable, I think it's fair to say. But what a season we have in store, and what a way to kick things off. A bumper week of action here in Ostersund with, well, some of the best crowds that we will see around the World Cup this season. Well, Chad Salmela alongside myself, Ellen Ellard. Chad, you just look at the crowd. They're in for a real treat if the earlier action today is anything to go by.
Yeah, the crowd has been kind of amazing at Ostersund. They've had World Cups here where the stands have been relatively sparsely populated, but I think with this Olympic season kicking off, the crowd is huge at Ostersund, and it's great to see the Swedish public getting behind this big event.
And here is a look, a quick look through the teams. Of course, we'll go through them in greater detail as we watch the athletes come out to line up. The final preparations done and dusted. We have 21 teams due to start today, and there, of course, is a quick look at all of them. Chad, when you look at, well, the top 4 on our start grid, France, Norway, Sweden, Germany, what are you expecting? Let's start with France, because of course unbeaten in last season's World Cup. Can they keep that going this time round?
I think they can. I think if you look at their quartet, they've got everybody in their quartet is ranked last year in the top 12. So it's absolute peak of the sport is their team. They're also the fastest team on skis, and they're the 4th best shooting team. So I think France has all the things they need, but if we've seen it, if shooting goes awry for any reason, anybody can step right in. And Norway is obviously the closest thing, but the closest thing to French. But the Swedes, the home team, they want to do well here. They're a great relay team, and they just need to get a good start with their first man, Victor Brandt, and then they should be able to contend for the victory if they keep the shooting. down to 4 or 5 extra rounds.
Well, there is a quick overview of our predictions for today. I have to give a shout out for one of the articles on the IBU website. 5 coaches predicting their highlights to come for this season, so do go and take a look at that. There's a quick look at the Slovenian team, and despite them being ever so blurry there, you can always make them out with that green kit, the iconic kit. Well, Ukraine, they ended on such a high last season, didn't they? A third place finish in the final relay of the season on the World Cup. Can they keep that good form going into the 25-26 season? Just tucked in behind the front 3, Germany. Well, there's plenty of weight of expectation on the German shoulders. A consistent team, not too many in the way of changes into what we saw last season. Can they continue to build? And for this man and the 3 who will follow him out, Fabien Claude, of course, leading the way for France. Can they keep going at the top? Unbeaten last season, of course, apart from the World Championships, where it was Norway who took top spot, but it's a very new-look Norway team. Martin Oldal and Isak Frey, the first 2 legs before Sturla Holmberg, the World Cup total score winner for last season, takes on the 3rd leg. And as Chad was mentioning, Sweden wearing bib number 3, a warm welcome at home. Victor Blunt will be leading them out in front of this crowd who want to see results, as Chad mentioned. All poised and ready to go. The second race of the World Cup season is about to get underway.
I love the way Victor Brandt has embraced the role of the first leg skier on this relay team. It really has defined his career, and it will continue to with the talent level he has. If he can just keep him in the mix, he'll always get on the podium with his teammates. Kind of a fun career for him.
Well, we hope it's a fun season for Sweden. They didn't have much in terms of the way of success last time round, despite their efforts. Consistency, they hope, will come in 25-26.
Ready?
So here we go. We are underway in the first men's relay of the season, and it all kicks off here in Ostersund. It's a quick start for Martin Oldal of Norway. It's Fabien Claude who's tucked in beside, and behind him with, of course, Victor Blunt, as we mentioned, taking on this role as the first leg athlete, and it's a role that he's really embraced. But alongside him, Martin Oldal, and we know what to expect now, Chad, from Martin Oldal, this young Norwegian who loves to shoot accurately and, more importantly, incredibly quickly.
He's a beautiful skier as well. His technician, he's on par with Eric Perot for technical skiing, and so fast from the standing position. It's just lightning fast. He's redefining the speed with which shooting is done these days. But it should be pointed out, you can only go so fast in shooting. It's maybe 2 or 3 seconds every time he shoots. I think the big thing for Oldal is, will he grow into this first leg roll for the Norwegians, because it's a pressure roll. And I don't remember seeing him. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's ever scrambled for the Norwegians. This could be a new thing for him, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles this first relay in the first spot.
Well, how this Norwegian team handle this first relay in a very long time without the Burr brothers as well, Chad. And of course, that the headline, that's the standout news from last season. We thought that maybe Johannes Tingersbo and Talia Bo would hang on until after the Olympic Games. Their choice to retire together at the end of last season. And while it was emotional, it was also a beautiful time to reflect on the impact they've had on the sport and the impact that they've had on the young biathletes like Martin Oldal and Isak Frey who are coming through.
Yeah, the whole thing feels different. I think you and I, we were talking before the show, that the whole team feels different without the Blue Brothers there. Even Vetle Schuster Christensen kind of feels like the old man of the team. It's got to change the way the team feels. They'll find their groove, but they're going to still be in the process of it here. I would expect the Norwegians to do well today just because they're all great biathletes, but you just never know when there's something new in front of you. It'll be interesting to see what happens, for sure.
Long time, well, I say a long time, in the grand scheme of things for Norway since their last win on the World Cup circuit. Soldier Hollow in 2024. Whole season on the World Cup without a win. Of course, it was France who dominated and did so in exceptional fashion last season. As we come up to the first time check, 1.3 kilometres, and it is Martin Oldal who will lead the way, and just to the side of him, moving around the outside of Victor Blunt, is Fabien Claude, just a Strelo and Germany in 4th, and it's Switzerland just ahead of Italy in 5th and 6th.
Ellen, if body language is anything, Martin Oldal is actually throwing down on this first lap. There's no doubt about it. You can see it's almost catching everybody off guard. Normally the first leg of any relay in biathlon tends to be sort of a subdued affair, and everybody just kind of rolls through. But look at this group stretched out now, and Oldal looked like he was pushing to that first time check. Now maybe backing it off a little bit, but certainly testing and kind of pushing at this first lap around the track, which is not very gentlemanly, we'll say, or very common in the history of biathlon. So I think Martin Oldal is at least going out there and maybe changing the first leg of the biathlon relay his first time out.
When he takes a look over his shoulder, you can see just how challenging the wind is as it ripples through the flags, and of course we'll see that when they come into the range. Extra push from Oldal as they come into this descent, and they'll go around a couple of turns before moving into the stadium for the first time.
You can see already a little bit of a gap forming between the first two teams. It's almost like Victor Brandt. I think Victor Brandt should be checking himself before he wrecks himself here. He does not want to get out too fast. His whole thing is to hit the targets. He can give up a few seconds on the ski tracks, but Oldal's definitely making this a race right from the gun.
Well,
Carnage at the back.
Yeah. We'll go back to the front. And the pace is being pushed, as Chad rightly says, by Martin Oldal. And where you can see it's a mess. The group of athletes who's trailing behind.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw a relay go out this hard. Splintering the field, it's kind of exciting. Italian team there, Lucas Hoch, Petra Braunhofer, kind of caught between two stations there. One group that's pulling away and one group that's falling behind them.
Well, you have to make those decisions so quickly, don't you, as a biathlete, whether you're going to go with the pace of the leading pack. And this is the four who are coming into the range for the very first time in the lead, led by Martin Oldal. Now, what can he do in this first shooting stage? It will be in the prone position. He comes in with Fabien Claude on his shoulder. You can see the wind conditions. They haven't got any easier from the women's race earlier on today. Victor Brandt, just Estrella Braunhofer, is just off the back and, well, now rejoining as they come in this first group of five. Line up on their bib numbers for this first shoot.
The variability of both the ski speed and the wind is making this a very challenging first shooting stage, at least mentally. They know they're going hard.
Miss for Germany, miss for Sweden. France starting well as well with Norway. Italy flying with Braunhofer, and he will be out of the gates first. Takes a quick look up to his feet. France with a miss. Norway still clean, but there is the first miss. Plenty dipping into the extra rounds, and they will have 3 extra rounds available. The big hitters, though, stuck in their tracks as this story has been turned completely on its head. Simon Eder, one of the athletes highlighted before, is one of the most accurate, and it's been a big benefit to him. He's out of the way in second, Hornig and Czechia in third, and now really the chase is on as the big names will have to work their way through the pack here.
Well, a lot of missed shots, but nobody in the penalty loop yet. Poland might be. I'm looking at the shooting. Not looking at everybody's the penalty loop, so no real major problems there. But lots of misses on the first shooting stage. About less than half, about a third of the field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 teams clean only out of 21. So definitely that pace, pushing it. And Braunhofer did that beautifully.
Well, we've spoken about this plenty of times in the build-up to this week's action. A collective inspiration for the Italian teams this season, an Olympic season which will culminate in February on home snow. And while the prize won't be any greater, the pressure is there as well, but performing well. Braunhofer clean and out incredibly quickly, followed by Simon Eder, who never seems to age, the 42-year-old two-time Olympic silver medalist, but still going at the highest of levels. And he is in second, just dropping back to third now with Gustav Hornig of Czechia sliding around the outside of him.
Well, we're into the season and we're racing. You can feel the intent on Martin Oldal in that first lap. And it's infected everybody. You see Braunhofer trying to stay in front, but it feels like a race, and I love that about this start to this relay.
Plenty of traffic now for Victor Blunt to try and find his way around. Fabian Claude has done well to climb his way up the order. This is the leading pack of 4. Claude in the colours of Belgium, just closing the gap to the 4 in front of him. There was 10 seconds behind or between him and the lead when they came out of shooting 1.
Braunhofer backing it off a little bit, letting Hornig take the lead. Giving the chasers a chance. That is, I think the chase group is that. Oh yeah, that's Uldal and trying to work together to chase the leaders.
Well, they've had plenty of success in terms of the mixed relay over the years. Czechia. Their last podium was in Sochi in the 2012-2013 season. And of course, as a men's quartet. They finished 4th at the World Championships in Oberhof in 2023.
Uldal and Fabian Claude now catching that lead pack of 5. They're trailing at the shooting by 21 and 22 seconds, and they're back to right on the back of that lead pack. So that's a big surge in ski speed, and they got to watch it too as they're chasing down the leaders. If they don't ski too fast. I think the leaders, Hornig, smart to maybe try to slow it down a little bit and get his heart rate under control.
Just tucked in, isn't he, Martin Uldal behind Fabian Claude. He's not trying, as it seems, to find a way around. He's biding his time. And maybe, as you say, Chad, that would be the best thing to do at this point.
We had to catch up, so he's probably hurting just a little bit of a surge of pace to get to the front group. He had 2 misses, so that cost him a little bit of time. All the top 5 teams leading the range were clean down to Florent Claude of Belgium. So it was Czech, Italians, the Austrians, the Finns, and the Belgians clean. Then 2 misses each from Fabian Claude and Martin Uldal, Zachna of Estonia, and Strelo of Germany, which is really not like Strelo at all to miss 2 shots from the pole position.
And of course, he had that brilliant season before last. Just as Strelo, where his shooting was impeccable. Couldn't quite replicate it last term. And they come to the range.
This is an all-business start to this men's relay.
8 athletes. And led in by the Italians. Braunhofer. Tucked in there, 2 of the 2 race favourites, Norway and France, but they haven't had it all their own way.
And this is a stroke of brilliance by the Italians. If Braunhofer can pull this off, he's 87% standing shooter. He should be able to, but he is the weakest link of the Italian team. He's the slowest guy on the team, and he's leading them off. But then he's got a star-studded trio of Lucas Hofer, Didier Bionaz, and Giacomelli. This is huge for Braunhofer to bring his team into the lead.
9 in the range. A miss for Norway and Martin Uldal. Fabian Claude starts well. Belgium going well with Florent Claude. There's a miss for him now. Braunhofer just having to resettle himself. Take that deep breath. He's still stuck on the first.
Now, when you resettle like that, your head is not in the right place. And look at how long it's taken for Braunhofer to take the second shot.
Well, he's been
Still hasn't
completely
taken.
in his tracks, and there's the miss, but hopefully he can just recover and get going, because you'll hear the misses around him. No one has gone clean in 5 for 5. So is this an opportunity for Justa Strelo? Norway away, had to go into the spares on 2 occasions. Now in this for Justa Strelo. Italy, Braunhofer can join Martin Uldal. And we still wait. Czechia will be once around the penalty loop, and so will France. Twice now around the loop will go France and Czechia. Belgium are away, and no one wanted to take the opportunity there. Martin Uldal will lead 5 seconds ahead of Patrick Braunhofer, and we are still waiting. And only now will Florent Claude come across the line in third.
2 things happening on that lap in that shooting stage. First of all, they're pushing the pace, and everybody's dying. And then the wind, and you have to shoot from the standing position in the wind. The United States has 2 penalty loops. Finland with 3 penalty loops. Estonia with 2 penalty loops. It was all business, and it all fell apart in the shooting range. What a turn of events.
And here,
Stralo's still there.
still with Strelo, and while everyone else waited, you just thought if he can get these shots away with good rhythm, with good pace, he could really catapult Germany back up the order. It hasn't been the case, and he has been stuck left, statuesque, trying to get this final shot away.
And it seems like it should be so easy, but when your barrel is moving like that, he gets all 5 in the end. But look at the cost of that. He's over a minute back now. Doesn't have to go to the penalty loop, but who cares? You've been standing there too long. But this happens in biathlon. Look at the 19-kilometer-an-hour wind from the side. That says it all. And there's a lot of action in the penalty loop because they did the 2 no-nos in biathlon. Ski too hard when it's windy.
At one point there, when we were waiting for Justa Strelo to come out, almost half of the teams were in the penalty loop.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy shooting stage. If you got out of there without any penalty loops, even with the extra rounds, I think that was a success.
Well, that is exactly what Martin Uldal has done, much to the delight of the Norwegian fans.
All by himself. Uldal now is going to pull away from Braunhofer. A shining first time on the front leg.
And it's exactly what his team needed, Chad, because you want to be handing over to Isak Frey, of course, a very fresh face on this World Cup circuit. You want to be handing over to him in the best position possible that he can take on this course with confidence. You know, he will be full of it, the IBU Cup winner from last season, but if you can give him that extra margin, it will help no end.
So look, we go back to Patrick Braunhofer. He stood there forever on that second shot, and it seemed like he was going to get past, but everybody started missing, and he knocked him down using only 1 extra round, 9 out of 10. He's the best shooter in the field, and he's getting paid back by being second place.
Well, patience sometimes does pay off.
That was a smart move by Braunhofer. And now he's got Italy in a great fight with Norway.
Yeah, it's exactly what you were saying, but during and before that shooting stage, Chad, when you look at the names who are coming up next, Lucas Hoffer, of course, 36-year-old, so experienced. Didier Bionats, who has a silver medal from the mixed relay at the World Championships in 2023, and then Tommaso Giacomel, whose results at the end of last season really speak for themselves. If he can get out of this and hand over in seconds, no one will be thinking about the hesitation and the challenges that he faces in an individual in the range, because everyone else was battling the same.
Yeah, it was a brilliant strategy. It felt a little crazy at the time that he was waiting that long, but I love when it works out. It's great. I don't mind being wrong.
We are happy to be wrong. As Sestrello comes through the 6.3 kilometre mark, down in 14th, and his time through that mark, 1 minute 31 seconds behind the time of the leader, so he's lost time on that final as they make their way around that final lap, but towards that penultimate checkpoint on this leg. Coming through the final time check on the leg is Martin Uldal, and he will be followed by Braunhofer, who is continuing to push. He's really throwing it all around this final lap, but the gap is just increasing. Well, it's not too much, under 10 seconds, that Martin Uldal has put between him and Braunhofer, between the 7.1 kilometre mark when you look back to the 6.3 kilometre mark.
That was an interesting first leg, and I think when the rest of the field sees Martin Uldal line up for leg number 1 again in the next men's relay, there's going to be some apprehension by the rest of the field. Well done, Martin Oldal.
So he's set for 8, picks up the charge for Norway. He went a whole season without a victory on the World Cup. Could this be the day where the pendulum swings back to Norway after they obviously went on a dominant spell before France's lead? Here's Braunhofer handing over to Lucas Hofer, who, well, he knows the position he's in here. Excellent so far for Italy as Austria and Belgium hand over a fraction of a second between each other. Here, longer stepping up, David Kohlmatz for Austria.
Well, what Braunhofer did is kind of what Italy has been looking for all along for the last couple of years, is somebody who can step in with these 3 other superstars they have and deliver. And he just did it for the first time that I can remember, and Italy is in great position to maybe win the relay today.
France really just handing over. Fielmaye picks up the charge, and he will need to climb here. 9th they've handed over in, and of course if they're to keep their unbeaten record flowing, he needs to get moving quickly.
Yeah, 2 penalty loops for France off the start. That's it. We've seen them come back from worse, that's for sure.
Logan Pletz of Canada to make his way out. Estonia. Corbin picking after Danilo Rietmüller does the same for Germany. Maxime Germain going out for the USA. And here is Sweden. Jesper Nelin trying to repair some of the damage 3 times around the penalty loop, and it's, well, as we saw earlier on today, Chad, it's incredibly hard to come back from that.
Yeah, the shooting, the carnage of that second shooting stage is going to be giving half the field nightmares who raced that first leg. I mean, just looking at it, you've got penalty loops from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 21 teams had penalty loops after standing, and that was after a clean slate from prone. So that was a big shooting stage. Now things, you hope, would settle down a little bit as things get spread out, but 25 seconds from Oldal to Braunhofer at the exchange it's a big gap, and Isaac Craig can now just go out and do biathlon in his own head. A little bit easier task.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want, isn't it, as a 22-year-old. Coming up from the IBU Cup as the winner last season. He is being chased. There's 2 ends of the spectrum in terms of the experience in, the top flight of biathlon racing, as he's being chased down by Lucas Hofer, who, of course, his experience spans back well over a decade now. The 36-year-old has got his sights set, of course, on a big season in the Olympic Games in Milan and Cortina in February.
Isaac Frey really doesn't have stellar skiing pedigree. He's just really good at biathlon. He's quick on the range. He's effective. But he doesn't flex his muscle on the skis, and that's not the game he plays. He is the slowest skier on the Norwegian quartet by a margin of 2% to the next slowest guy. That's Vetle Sjosa Christensen. So the Frey makes his mark on being solid on the range. He is a 90% shooter in his early 20s. That is mastery of the sport at a pretty young age.
Quentin Fielmaye has climbed up 3 places. To do a fair bit more in terms of the time deficits. Of course, we could see that chop and change as they move through the range. He needs to be in really good form, the Frenchman, when he comes into the range, though.
Austria in the second leg for them is David Kohlmatz. He's chasing that chase group and trying to catch up to Hofer, almost 20 seconds back, 17 seconds back of Kohlmatz at the 8.8 kilometer mark. But none of the 3 skiers that are Kohlmatz, Longer, or Danusa are really what you'd call, really strong skiers. Their role is to keep the relay team on the tracks in the second leg, but they're going to get eaten up probably over the course of this race by Quentin Fillon-Maillet, who's chasing from about 15 seconds back of them.
So Isak Frey coming into the stadium because Hoffer 21.1 seconds behind. He is closing the gap. How much is he having to exert himself to do that before they come into the range for the first time on this second leg?
Lots of great things being said about this young man in our picture. We haven't seen a lot of him on the World Cup yet. Isak Frey has been a fixture, though, at 22 years of age on the IBU Cup, and he was the IBU Cup champion last year, stepping up to the World Cup this year with the Blue brothers retiring, and he is already delivered for the Norwegians at this young age. But again, this is his. I believe this is his first World Cup relay. If not, he hasn't done a lot of them. If he has, but he saw what happened, and he wants to hold it together here. Range looks relatively under control wind-wise. You see a little bit of fluttering on the red flag on the right side of your screen.
Steadies himself so well, and that's 5 for 5, and Isak Frey will be away even before Lucas Hoffer can take his first shot.
He's not flashy. He's not a beautiful skier technically. He's not powerful. He's not super fast, but he is great on the range. And we just saw that. He's like a machine.
Two misses now for the Italian Lucas Hoffer.
The opportunity for the podium places just keep growing as Norway gets away now. Everybody chasing the second and third spot at the podium. Give a chance now.
Oh, look how quick David Kormatson, Austria, just flew through that. Takes a look to one side. He'll come out of the range in second. Hoffer will be set to chase, but this time it will be for second place that he's trying to pursue.
Switzerland absolutely rising to the occasion with Sebastian Staller. They had to actually exchange Mikkel Hartweg on the start order, so they're missing their big gun in the third leg. So there's Danusser, or excuse me. Oh yeah, this is Danusser. He's clean for Switzerland. This is a big step for him, not having Hartweg on the lineup for Switzerland. They're going to do this without their superstar, and they're still in the hunt for the podium spots.
Yeah, that was really clean from Duncan Danusser, who, well, he shown his character at times last season. Always finished with a big smile on his face, but didn't always have the opportunities to compete at the top end. And he's taken this opportunity to step up into the Swiss team for today's relay incredibly well. Germany now away. They repair some of the damage. France and Quentin Fillon-Maillet up to 5th.
Yeah, this relay just got away from everybody in that second shooting stage. It's big gaps now to the rest of the field. Frey all by his lonesome out there, and the 3 teams chasing down 2 spots on the podium, just separated by 2 seconds between the 3 of them. Well, with performances like that, I don't think Isak Frey has to worry about being relegated back down to the IBU Cup. That was absolutely a world-class World Cup performance. I think he's here to stay.
Stepped up to the World Cup a couple of times towards the end of last season. There's some good individual performances. 4th in the sprint in Oslo, finishing 5th in the pursuit a couple of days later. And I do think you're right, Chad. I do think this is the first time he's stepped up into a men's relay team. He was in the mixed relay in Pokluka when they finished 3rd.
I didn't want to assert it without looking it up, but I'm pretty sure that he has not raced. I think this is his debut in the relay in the World Cup. So and he is passing with flying colors. He got the baton, or the figurative baton, at the exchange, 25-second lead, and he's now grown that over the field to 48. So that's what you want in a young up-and-coming star of your team.
Yeah, exactly. Is just his 7th World Cup start. And there is a weight of expectation on these young Norwegians who are stepping up. You know, Martin Uldal, the equal fastest ever to make it to one win, and that was just 5 races. He shares that with Sturla Holmlegreid, that record after winning the sprint in on sea. There's an expectation, Chad, that when these young men in particular are promoted from the IBU Cup, that they need to be getting the results fairly quickly.
Yeah, and that is a little bit easier because they tend to be winning at the IBU Cup, which is a pretty high level now. And really, they're at the IBU Cup because the Norwegian team is so strong. So I think guys like Frey and Uldal come into the team the first time on the World Cup, and they don't feel like it's such a big jump for them because they know the competitive level of their team, and it doesn't daunt them. They come in and just do biathlon the way it's supposed to be done. And we saw that in one shooting stage already by the young Isak Frey. And he's pulling time out of this World Cup field in his first relay for Norway. He looks great.
Second at the Loop 1 Festival in Munich, of course, as well. And that just cemented his position as one to watch, particularly as well for the under-23 Globe this season. Here is the chase pack, which contains Lucas Hoffer. Quentin Fillon-Maillet has just come around the inside and is pushing the pace, but is tucked in behind Lucas Hoffer.
Fillon-Maillet came from 8 seconds back on the last loop. Moving shooting ranges, he was actually 14 seconds back, and he's now with this group. So Fillon-Maillet is on the prowl. He wants to get France back into position to win. He's not giving up on the win yet, despite being 50 seconds back.
The flags twist and turn, but it will be a quiet and lonely range for Isak Frey.
Yeah, it's definitely not as windy. They're getting gusts on that first leg standing shoot. This is pretty calm stuff for Frey. Still a little bit of wind though. He's taking advantage of the calmness.
Superbly done from Isak Frey. Cool as you like.
Pretty tough to make a dent in that time.
Now the four behind him roll in, and Quentin Fillon-Maillet will know exactly what's just happened. We'll have seen Isak Frey ski off into the distance, and he knows he has to be perfect here as well to close the gap.
Pretty normal shooting conditions now.
And a miss just on the last for Fillon-Maillet. Italy away with Lucas Hoffer, and now France will follow.
And just like that, France is in the picture.
And for the first time within a minute.
So moving closer to the Norwegians, but not much closer, but he's within the minute. That's big. That's kind of a psychological barrier, at least. David Komatz with a great performance. Keeping Austria in the mix.
Bulgaria going well. They're up to 5th with Ilya.
0+1. That's the key to their success today.
Works for Switzerland and Danusa, who's come out in 6th after starting ever so well. Germany and Sweden climbing. Well, there's still time to recover this. At least for the podium positions, maybe not quite for the leads, as Isak Frey dominating with Norway.
Germany in the top 10, but now at 156 back at nearing the halfway mark. You just can't expect it to take that a minute away in the last half of the race. So they're still too far out for a chance.
And here is the leader, Isak Frey. It's been a relatively lonely journey.
Yeah, but I think he'd like it that way.
Yeah, exactly. You would not be complaining at all, would you? The start of what he hopes will be a very long and successful season.
I like the way he does biathlon. I wouldn't hold him up as a model of how to ski. No, I don't think anybody would use him as the technical model of great skiing, but he's effective. And you can see his mental strength when he competes. He's so focused, laser focused on the range. And that's just not something that is terribly common in people. He's got the ability to hone in on the targets and just put the pressure out of his mind.
Well, he's been talked about for a long while, hasn't he, Isak Frey? Not just in Norway, but outside. Plenty of eyes have been watching on, and it's a real game of patience at times in biathlon, waiting on for the right opportunity, and so rarely do those opportunities come in the Norwegian team.
Yeah, and Ellen, I really think what has left him, what has really probably been the point of keeping him on the IBU Cup is that his skiing hasn't developed to the level of a Johannes or even Legride or the older guys on the team. But he is ready clearly for the biathlon side of it. He doesn't need to be a superstar skier, and he can be a couple percent back because he makes up the time and he's so consistent everywhere else in biathlon. Great race by the Swiss.
And of course, coming off the season, they have their own collective encouragement with the World Championships in Lenzerheide, and they came oh so close to medals on a number of occasions. And they showed that they can be up there and competing. And of course, a medal in the single mixed relay as well towards the end of last season. Take plenty of encouragement from that.
Two guys who know each other well. They've been on the biathlon circuit for well over a decade. Italy and France duking it out.
And so our first look this season at last season's total score winner, Sturla Holmlegard, picks up the baton from Isak Frey, who has done all he can, and Norway have quite the healthy lead here. 50 seconds it was at the last time check, and all that hard work, Chad, has been done by the two newbies, let's say, on the team.
Yeah, job well done. That is a huge performance by the first two Norwegian skiers on this relay team. But Ellen, think about how hard to come by the wins were for Norway last year. They didn't win a single World Cup relay last year after dominating for years. It's been over a full season since Norway has taken home the gold, and Legride has it in his pocket. All he has to do is bring it home.
Well, their one win last season, of course, it came at the World Championships, but on the World Cup it was France who were undefeated. They haven't lost since Soldier Hollow in 2024 at the end of the 23-24 season. And now the chase is on. Emilia Jacquelin, who so frequently is the anchor leg for the French team. It's Eric Perrault will go last this time round. What can Emilia Jacquelin do? And well, there is pressure on him here, Chad, because he needs to stay level-headed.
He does, and the thing is that we don't really think about Didier Bionats as somebody who's going to challenge Emilia Jacquelin, but they're really quite well suited. Jacquelin is a better shot. He's 83%, but they ski about the same as last year is the marker. But Jacquelin's got to realize he can lose to Italy here.
And Switzerland handover. Pakal picking up for them. There's Bulgaria. Handing over together here. Czechia, Germany, and Sweden. And Martin Ponsaloma do to put Sebastian Samuelsson in the best position on the final leg. There is lots of work to be done, and to exchange 2, 1 minute 52 seconds behind the time of Norway. And Sturla Holmlegard, who is now well on his way on this first lap of 3.
Absolutely no pressure on Sturla. It's kind of a walk in the park for him. And But again, it's biathlon. Anything can happen. The wind could come up. You could think the wrong thought.
Well, you say a walk in the park, of course, in terms of this race. Will he have it all his way this season, Chad? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think he's going to have a real challenge with some of his teammates, the young teammates. They all want to be champions as well, and they're not just going to let him take the wins. And I do think that Eric Perrault is a burgeoning superstar from France, and he's proven it all summer long in the summer festivals. He's been spectacular at everything he's done on roller skis this year. His fitness is great, and he's so solid in every aspect of the sport. I think that he's going to challenge Lagarde.
How much would you love to see a rivalry between those two develop?
I would love it, but they don't seem guys who like. They don't seem like guys who would like to be rivals with anybody. I think they'd be pretty friendly.
Well, someone who loves a rivalry, Emilien Jacquelin, and he loved bringing France home throughout the season for victories over Norway after oh so long, where it wasn't Norway, or it wasn't France, and it was Norway. What an incredible streak they went on before Kontiolahti. Of course, Emilien Jacquelin took his first ever sprint win as well, but it was a bit of an up and down season. I think it's fair to say, Chad, you know, he was benched on occasions from some of the relays where you would expect him to be involved in. He didn't always get the opportunity to anchor the team home after such a good start. More consistency, is that all he needs this time round?
I think most of it is just confidence and finding the mental processes that he's maybe not given the time in his career to take seriously. And he's playing with fire right now. You're looking at Didier Bianats. He's trying to set a tone that he's better than him out on the course, and that's where this can backfire. Is Didier Bianats can compete with him if he goes out and skis too hard and just is a little too flamboyant in this third leg. He could find himself in that same spot that he finds himself ever so often, and almost more so now later in his career than when he was younger. He had a little more confidence and could deliver when he was younger. He's got a little more doubt now, as he's had a couple of rough seasons off and on. Corner's looking a little bit ragged as the night goes on here. You can see the snow softening a little bit. We saw the women's competition earlier, a couple hours earlier, and you can see that there's been a little more breakdown to the course than there was during the women's competition. Now that's just the temperature. The snow starts to get a little bit mealy and a little bit more moisture into it. This is all machine-made snow and stored over the summer, most of it, and some of it was blown recently, but all machine-made snow, and it drains the water very quickly. But what happens is you get this sort of mashed potatoes on the top. That normal snow, that natural snow, doesn't really turn into this condition. So the classic warming of the machine-made snow, and you can see it starting to get worse.
Yeah, you saw that Didier Bianats having to really work hard to stay on his feet, and of course able to do so to keep his position behind Emilien Jacquelin, but coming into the range with a healthy advantage is Sturla Holmgren. The last time check, 49.1 seconds was the difference between him and Emilien Jacquelin, with Jacquelin put 10 seconds between him and third place Bianats.
One of the hard things about this race is you look at the wind flags. The wind flags flutter. It means that the wind kind of moves in funny directions inside the range. It's not so strong right now. I think it's safe to just go shoot through it, but when it starts to magnify, there's a miss. When it magnifies, it gets tough.
It didn't look like that was too far away. I wonder if we'll get another look back at it. Looked like it was just on the edge of that prone ring. And no problem, of course, with the final target dipping into the spares, but only once.
Chris is averted. He was fine. Yeah, missed just a little bit at 11 o'clock. He's outside the prone ring, but knocked it down pretty comfortably. Now, Frenchman Jacquelin has put a little bit of time on Didier Bianats, but the question is, how much effort did he put into it, and is it going to affect the shooting?
And the French coaches watching on. They said at the start of the last season that it was their target to really improve the shooting in their road to the Winter Olympics next year, and this is quick. This is fast from Jacquelin, and it's clean. And that is him back to his best, 5 for 5 in good time. Will the gap be closed?
Confident Emilien Jacquelin is a dangerous Emilien Jacquelin. Hard to beat when he's confident. He's got his confidence there.
Yeah, and that has really helped him. Now 41.5 seconds, the gap to Stella Holmgren in first. Some challenges here.
Yeah, you can't afford to fumble with your rounds if you're going to be competitive in a World Cup relay. That's just beginner stuff there for the Italian Biathlon. Wasted about 8 seconds there just fumbling his extra round. Got to clean that up.
Moorbacher struggling for Austria. This is for Sweden, Germany going well, and will this see Navrat jump up the order? It will.
Good move for Germany, but still they're just trying to get a podium. The Germans don't really care about fourth place, at least the German public doesn't, but maybe just a little bit for pride's sake. Navrat's moving in fourth place, but still 33 seconds back of the Italians, and that's a long way back. And the right goes clean for the United States, and they chase Sweden out of the range. And ninth place for the Americans now.
Now this could be a good little pairing with Ponsaloma in 8th, Campbell Wright chasing him in 9th.
Yeah, a little race instead of race. Campbell Wright likes to do that. He's always game for a little bit of a challenge.
There is nothing to challenge Sturla Holmgren out front. We can look back at the shooting and get a closer look at just where this miss was.
We've seen so many Norwegian biathlon teams with more seasoned athletes in the start order than Frey and Uldal struggle. This is a really great performance by them to start things off in their relay career.
Well, last year was prime example of that, with, well, two of the greatest to ever do it, and arguably Johannes in his boat. And the arguments will rage on, won't they? The greatest to ever do it. He still couldn't touch France on the World Cup last season.
But they're doing it today, and they're doing it with two newbies, and it's a new day in Norwegian biathlon, and it's probably pretty exciting for those two guys in the first and second spot in this relay.
And here is Lydia Bionats going towards the 18.8 mark.
And Jacqueline has exerted his will on Bionats. Bionats didn't have a response. Bionats looks a little lethargic. He was very fast last year. He had good ski times, but this time of year, you can come in. Everybody comes in a little bit differently into the season. And I think Bionats is not quite at full power yet on his ski form. With Ponsaloma catching Navras now, as is Campbell Wright. If Bionats isn't careful, he might lose that podium spot. He's got a serious train of good athletes chasing him.
You mentioned Campbell Wright, he's dropped back slightly. You can see him out wide. And well, based off last season's performances at the World Championship, should have expected him. We know how fast Martin Ponsaloma is, of course, but maybe not to be too far off him. He's actually dropping back here, Campbell Wright, which is not the position that he would want to be in. In terms of his positioning in comparison to Ponsaloma, it is the Swede who's charging forward, and of course we know the pace that he holds on the skis. As much as he was able to use it last season, it was, of course, affecting his performances in the range. Stella Holmgren into the range. An advantage that sits around the 40-second mark.
Just 5 extra rounds.
Yep, watching on.
5 extra rounds, yes. When you're one of the strongest teams, you only have 5 extra rounds on a winning day, you're going to win a relay. Quite a bit of barrel movement, but he's managing it very well. There's a miss, though. And see the barrel moving back and forth. Still battling the wind. He's doing a good job with it, but now it gets tough when the wind picks up and you didn't get the shot off. And there's a miss.
So 2 misses for Norway. Emilian Jacquelin is pulling up alongside Sturla Holmlegreid.
The wind is stronger. Look at the flags now on the right side of your screen. They're blowing right at the athletes. It doesn't really affect the trajectory much, but it does mess with your hold.
And now Sturla Holmlegreid is away, but he had to wait. And now France, with Emilian Jacquelin, have missed, but he's flying through these next few, but has missed 2 as well. Well, he was desperate to try and take advantage of the 2 misses and extra rounds used by Sturla Holmlegreid. He's gone into the extra rounds himself. And he'll have to go again.
He's shaking. This could be trouble. He went for it, but you can tell that he's knocked off of his confidence. He missed
the penalty loop, and it will be a penalty loop for France. And Norway's advantage will grow once again. Can Italy take the opportunity here? The challenge of the wind has really stepped up.
But Biathlon has the same problem. He's got to face the same wind. He starts with a hit, though.
But there's the miss. And 2 now, and France will be safe in second. But will Italy be safe in third? Now that is the question. With Germany and Sweden
I'm
back
trying
in
to
the
see the
picture here.
flags. I want to see the flags. You see the flags? They're dropping now. No wind. Absolutely unfortunate for Didi Hipionas. The 4 that just lined up. They've got great shooting conditions now, and that is the unfortunate inequality of biathlon. All shooting conditions are not the same.
And Germany will go into third. Italy will tumble down the order before Tommaso Giacomel can take to the skis.
3 loops for Italy. Germany's on the podium suddenly, and nobody chasing except the United States.
Well, what can Campbell Wright do here? He needs to really throw down the speed and chase Philip Navrat. He will be pursued by Ponsaloma.
16 seconds for the Americans to get on the podium. Ponsaloma 24 out of the medal.
How it has changed in these positions. And the Swiss
are still there.
They are back up there.
I love this Swiss performance. This is great.
And after a slightly nervy moment, he can breathe again, Sturla Holmlegreid, because the advantage that he has is so great. Almost a minute coming out of shooting 6, 58.4 seconds, and then 70 seconds, 80 seconds it is, actually, between him and Philip Navrat in third.
The last shooting stage is just a great example of how biathlon can change so quickly from something as simple as a gust of wind or maybe a few minutes of extra wind that wasn't there before, and it completely changed the outlook of the end of this race, and it's made it quite a bit more exciting.
Of course, still with one more leg to go as these athletes make their way around their final lap, the leg 3 athletes, and Sturla Holmlegreid, well, he is head and shoulders above the rest. And that's the disappointment, isn't it, from the French coaches who have put such an emphasis on shooting over the course of the last season. They expect the very best, and, well, Emilian Jacquelin unable to deliver that. All has to do is talking on the skis, and, well, nothing in terms of the time gained or lost between leaving shooting, just 2 fractions of a second.
I think he's awfully relieved that it didn't calm down sooner, and he was dealing with Navrat. But he's hanging on the second. First is out of reach now for the French. I think he thought he had a chance. He went for it. I like that he went for it, but it's amazing how quickly he turned nervous. You could see the shaking, and I don't think that was all wind for Jacquelin. I think it was partly nerves.
Well, they haven't gained a huge amount. Well, one of them has. Martin Ponsaloma is really flying, and it has given Campbell Wright the toe to gain 3 seconds, weak 3 seconds into Sturla Holmlegreid's lead.
And Sweden will be handing off to the great Sebastian Samuelsson. The Americans will be hanging off handing up the great Sean Doherty. An opportunity for the United States to maybe fly up the order with Sweden and threaten for a podium finish. Germany will send out Philip Horn. Horn can ski, but he is a little bit shaky on the shooting range.
Well, you can hear the noise. Sturla Holmlegård, last year's total score winner, hands over to Vetle Sjostad Christensen. 7 spares used as a team so far. It is an elite performance and likely one that will see them back to top spot after a very long wait indeed. Emilia Jacquelin now dropping to just over a minute behind the time at that point of Sturla Holmlegård. And well, Chad, that's exactly what you're talking about. It's a real battle through the snow on that turn.
Yeah, it's starting to break down, and you got to watch it so you don't get tripped up by that. It's pretty heavy snow. You can move it, but it doesn't move very easily. Campbell Wright doing a great job at hanging with Martin Ponsolum. Ponsolum is really probably the fastest skier in the World Cup right now, and Campbell not letting him get out of sight.
So into exchange comes Emilia Jacquelin. Waiting and slapping his chest is Eric Perrault. Well, we know the talent he has, but the exchange, the gap in exchange, 62 seconds, Chad. It's a mountain he has to climb here.
That's a lot. It's going to be a tough thing to overcome. But the United States is chasing Philip Horn now.
And the noise is Martin Ponsoloma. His work is done. He hands over to Sebastian Samuelsson and Campbell Wright. Indeed, this is the Stars and Stripes baton over to Sean Doherty.
Ellen, if we went back to before the second shooting stage of this leg, we would have never seen the United States be on the same stretch as Germany. And not that they're going to stay there, but it's a huge turnaround in the fight for the final podium spot.
Well, when you look at the progression of the United States, Chad, of course, as you can talk about and would happily talk about for a very long time. 4 top 10 finishes last season. It was a really solid season for the men's quartet, and currently sat in 5th. A top 10 to start the season would go down very well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think this would be a huge boost to this men's team. It's probably one of the best men's teams in the history of the sport for U.S. Biathlon. Courtesy partially of Campbell Wright bringing so much power, but the rest of the team really does have the ability to compete on the world level, and that's not something the United States has had 4 or 5 men that can actually do, can score points and be in the top 30, top 40 regularly, and they have that now.
Well, I'm just looking at the screen, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, I think Campbell Wright's had the fastest of leg 3.
He has, yes.
Stand. He has flown around there. And he's done it in a really clever fashion as well, where on that second lap, he didn't push himself to try and compete with Martin Ponsoloma, and indeed saved it for that final lap, where he knew he could match him.
He's the fastest fastest leg time by 6.8 seconds ahead of Navrat. Ponsoloma at 17 seconds back and 41 seconds ahead of the Finn. 42 seconds faster than Lagrade. And that is a huge performance by the American. And that tells us that we're going to see some great stuff from Campbell Wright in the coming days and weeks.
Well, still going in front, of course, of that first World Cup podium after taking 2 brilliant silver medals at the World Championships. And you always feel with Campbell Wright in the form he's in and the confidence he carries that it is certainly a matter of when and not if. So here's a look at the time check at 23.8 kilometres. Vetle Sjostad Christensen, the first to go through it. This is Eric Perrault, and he is still at 62.5 seconds down, so 3 points of a second. He's managed to eat in, but it's really nothing, is it, in the grand scheme of things. And here is the battle on behind, and what's the battle we could be in store for? Germany up against Sweden, of course. It's Sweden on home snow, and Chad, it's Sebastian Samuelsson.
Samuelsson is moving. He's taken 8 seconds out of Christensen and Perrault. He's the only guy moving closer to the lead out on the course right now. Sean Doherty has lost 6 seconds to Norway. So on the hunt is Sebastian Samuelsson. He wants to put Sweden back on the podium. He's got only 3 seconds to horn now. If you put the record of Samuelsson up against Horn, it's it slants pretty much in the favor of the Swede.
Well, it does indeed. 2-time Olympic gold medalist.
Horn actually came off his tied for his best performance in the World Cup competition last season. He was 4th in NC Legrand sprint, so he's no slouch, but he's also not. He doesn't have any Olympic medals in his sock drawer either.
He was Olympic gold in 2018 in the relay, silver in 2018 in the mass start for Sebastian Samuelsson. His 2 Olympic medals is into shooting 7, the penultimate shooting stage. Magnus Vetle Christensen, who's been in this position on plenty of occasions, took the relay gold medal here in 2019, and he's the only remaining member of that team still on the World Cup circuit.
Doing what he has to do, just keeping the rest at bay. Not gaining a lot of time, but not losing any time either. The wind graphic, going left to right. Big miss, way out, halfway to the white. That's a miss to the left as well. He needs to adjust his sights. The wind is pushing him out there. All the shots are in the same spot. He's shooting well. He's just missing the target because the trajectory is being blown. As soon as the wind came down to 3 kilometers an hour, he hit. But that 15-kilometer-an-hour wind was pushing his shots out of the target.
Well, he still has such a wind that no one else has come into shooting 7 yet.
Oh, and he's got a penalty loop.
And there will be a penalty loop for Norway and Vetle Christensen as Eric Perrault pulls up.
At this point, you lose your confidence because you don't know that you're necessarily missing because of the wind. So you second guess your trigger squeeze. And now the wind has completely changed direction, but he gets it anyway and he heads to the penalty loop.
So just once around the loop for Norway and Christensen. Here is Eric Perrault, who you can see adjusting his sight. But there's a miss to start with for the Frenchman.
You see that wind graphic moving, it's spinning around and it's causing all kinds of havoc with this prone shooting stage. When it's down under 5 kilometers an hour, a good shot should go down. But if
keep your eyes on Sebastian Samuelsson, who has gone 5 for 5 and has closed the gap on the Norwegians. Will be followed up by France and Eric Perrault, but Sebastian Samuelsson on home snow in a range that he knows so well, taking full advantage, and Sweden are up into second.
And just like that, we have a race for the finish. 15 seconds separating first and third after a nearly a minute lead evaporated under the watch of Vetle Christensen. What a performance! What a relay this is turning out to be.
Well, just when you thought that Eric Perrault and co were chasing a lost cause, Vetle Christensen struggling as the first man into the range, and it is all changed. And like Chad says, the top 3 just over 15 seconds separating them, and it is race on here in Ostersund.
On a windy range with some shooters, some biathletes who just lost their confidence in that prone shooting stage. One guy who didn't lose his confidence, the hometown hero, Sebastian Samuelsson. Look at the reaction of the crowd. Samuelsson lighting him up in Ostersund tonight.
Well, there was a real mix of emotions there. You saw the celebrations, you also saw the nerves, because as quickly as things can swing in your favour, the Swedes know that it can go the opposite direction, but they are in a good position here. Vetle Christensen, you can see the gap between him and Sebastian Samuelsson, with Eric Perrault trying desperately to get onto the back of the man in blue and yellow. Well, what a race this has become.
This is the stuff of legends as Samuelsson and Christensen do battle again with a new French foe in Eric Perrault. Perrault trying to do something special for the French as they've been kind of out of this relay from the get-go, and they won all the relays last year. He's trying to find that magic they had in 2025.
Well, it's a quick mentality switch as well for everyone involved, from being so confidently out there with a healthy lead to dropping back down, and then also potentially thinking that the gap can't be closed, and suddenly you're back within it all.
And the interesting thing about it, if you go back and you think about where Schuster Christensen missed those shots, where the wind was, when you look at the wind graph, it's 15 km/h wind to the side. It wasn't bad shooting. The wind took his shots. He was taking good trigger screens. And that's the thing that's so insidious about the wind, is you start to second guess your own ability to take a shot.
Well, Eric Perrault is not closing on Sebastian Samuelsson, and it is Samuelsson, the Swede, who's eating into the lead of Christensen. He's still outside 11 seconds. We do have another shooting stage to come. This is Philip Horn, who is 34.9 seconds behind the lead of Vetle Sjostad Christensen. And well, this is not a bad day in the office at all for Sean Doherty, who is holding well. He's lost a little bit of time, but then again, he has a healthy advantage himself over Czechia, who sit in sixth.
Sean Doherty just needs to stay in his lane. He's in fifth place. There's nobody really behind him to take his fifth spot if he shoots well. And he has the opportunity to put the team on the podium if he comes in and any of these three athletes falter. He could put the United States on the top of the podium potentially.
So making our way around the penultimate lap. One more shooting stage to go, and it is all to play for. With the home advantage, as you hear the roars, this crowd so engaged in the battle for first and second, because it is Norway up against Sweden.
You can feel the gravity thickening in Ostersund right now as they approach this final shooting stage. Kind of a snoozer up until about 10 minutes ago when the wind changed everything.
And this is why we love biathlon. This is why it is one of the best sports in the world, because everything can change at the click of a finger.
And such a mental battle between these three great athletes. One rising, one heading towards retirement, one at the peak of his career. Sean Doherty trying to chase down Philip Horn for Germany.
So into the range we come for one final time. It all comes down to this.
Not great, not the worst shooting conditions for standing. Again, standing's not about the trajectory of the boat contains, but holding the rifle steady as the wind pushes you around.
The top three,
unnerving.
All within 15 seconds. Great start, great recovery from Vetle Sjostad Christensen, who is 5 for 5, and no mistake this time round. And Eric Perrault matches him in terms of accuracy. Sebastian Samuelsson fading away in the battle for top spot.
He's resettling, using precious extra seconds. He needed to just load it and go if he wants to win. And he gets the shot, but it's going to be a tough battle to try to make up that much time on the leaders. 18 seconds now.
And 2.5 kilometers, one final lap to go.
Nice battle between Germany and the United States for the wooden medal. One with a miss. Sean Doherty yet to take a shot for the United States.
Maybe Philip Horn, who comes away before Doherty can get his first shot. That's good from the American in the challenging conditions.
You can see the wind blowing his bib even, but 5 for 6, good close for the United States. They're going to finish in the top 5. That is going to send some chills down some spines to friends and family at home as the United States moves into the top 5 of the World Cup Biathlon Relay. It's a great performance for them after a really tough start.
Well, 4 top 10 finishes last season for the USA. Never finished on the podium, but come very close in Soldier Hollow back in the 23-24 season. Here is the battle, though, at the front. 8.9 seconds between Eric Perrault and the man in the lead, Vetle Shortstar Christensen. Chad, can he close it?
It doesn't look like it. I think Perrault looks a little bit lackluster. He looks a little flat. You've seen him ski spectacularly, but his body language is telling me that he looks a little tired. It's pretty common in this in the first race of the season. You might not be in your absolute tip-top fitness. But Chester Christensen doesn't look much better. He's just got time in hand. That's all.
There's the weights and the French and Norwegian coaches watching on. And of course, at the end of the season, it will be the end of the road in terms of the Norwegian national team for Sigrid Marseille. Here is the gap. We'll wait to see it. Shortstar Christensen urged on. Eric Perrault coming towards the time check, and he has lost a significant amount of time here. Well, Chad, what you said is right. He just doesn't seem to be flowing in the same manner we're used to seeing Eric Perrault in.
And Vetle Shortstar Christensen is also one of the fastest closers. If it came down to a sprint finish, I would give a nod to Vetle Shortstar Christensen in that circumstance. So Perrault trying his best, drops to 15 seconds back though after being just 8 back at the shooting range, and it's going to be France ceding the victory to Norway once again.
And will signify the start of another long run of Norwegian domination. Will France be able to bounce back as we move through this World Cup circuit? And of course, a big and busy week to come from an individual perspective as well, you feel, Chad, for Eric Perrault?
Yeah, I think he'll race himself into shape. These biathletes, they're used to racing a lot. This is probably the toughest week besides the World Championship or an Olympic week. This opening week in Ostersund, with all the races, basically all the races in the repertoire being run between today and next Sunday. So it's a dense beginning to the season, but they all know what they're getting into.
And of course, it's great to replicate the intensity that they'll face when it comes down to the Olympic Games and of course the future World Championships as well, where the racing, it comes thick and fast. Vetle Shortstar Christensen through 29.6 kilometres with a very healthy lead over Eric Perrault. Was at 15.6 seconds. Has he been able to dig deep and dig into it? It doesn't look likely, just very fractional. The advantage now that Eric Perrault has been able to eat in, but it will do nothing to take the win away from Vetle Shortstar Christensen and Norway. Sebastian Sand is just fighting that. The corner has really thrown up a few issues, hasn't it?
Almost got tripped up by the snow snakes there.
Well, they suffered last season, Norway. They had to watch over and over France take the victory on the World Cup. But for the first time since Soldier Hollow in 2024, it is Norway who are back on top. The world champions kick things off in style in the 25-26 BMW IBU World Cup season. France, their unbeaten streak, it comes to an end. Perrault couldn't close the gap. Sebastian Samuelsson acknowledges the home crowd. Sweden back on the podium.
Sweden always finds a way to do it, especially at home.
Well, a new look, Norway. It is the beginning of a new era. And plenty of confidence to be taken. And there's plenty of travelling German fans in the crowd. You can see the flags being waved high. And Philip Horn will bring Germany across the line in fourth.
Solid performance by that German quartet. Strela, Riekmuller, Navrath, and Horn. It's probably their best foot forward at this point. Oh, Sean Doherty trying to hang on there. Almost got tripped up on that final downhill. But this is a good performance for Team USA. You got to feel good about this.
Yeah, really solid performance. Campbell Wright with the fastest time on leg 3, handing over, and Doherty doing his job well to keep the USA in a top 5 position. But it's all about Norway today. And it's all about the 2 men on the right-hand side of that picture. Martin Lundal, Isak Frey, the new guard, the new kids on the block and performing incredibly well. Italy, well, it started well, didn't it, Chad? But in the end, they have work to do if they're to compete for the medals at the Olympic Games.
They can do it, though. It's a long way out. It's a whole different world 2 months from now. So, this is just this is the first race of the year. You got to shake it off, keep working, doing good work on the range, make sure you're staying healthy. Italy still has a chance at the medals for sure on their home course and contests. But today, not quite what they were shooting for.
Well, a solid performance from Switzerland as well, missing key player Nicholas Hartweg today.
Burkhalter, Pakal, and Danusser, 3 names we don't call very often, and they come in, bring the Swiss in the top 10 and 8th spot. Congrats to them. That's a good day for them.
Well, there was a few nervy moments for Vetle Sjostad Christensen, but he recovered well, and that final shooting stage is just a sign of how experience can really help you deal with that pressure. And they don't come much more pressured than a final shoot in a World Cup relay.
You have to have been there and done that before in some capacity to go through it. And the Norwegians have just, Vetle Sjostad Christensen has faced the highest pressure in the sport for probably over 10 times in a pressure situation like that and come through. So he knew what to do. He knew how to keep his nerves in check, and he also knows how to let it go if he doesn't. And that's one of the things about biathlon that you have to master, is you have to be okay with messing up every now and then, because everybody does it.
Well, too, we have that doesn't happen
like this
very
guy.
Often. Bulgaria have taken the wrong turn. I was just about to mention the fact that 2 athletes that don't know how to give it up are Lovro Planko and Dimitri Produchny, who were battling all the way to the line, ended up in a heap, and Bulgaria taking the wrong turn. This is the time to get it, to iron out anything, isn't it, on these the first World Cup race of the season.
Yeah, if it goes well, it's great, but everybody knows it's a long season. Not everybody's going to come out of the gates swinging and hitting home runs right from the get-go. So for the teams who did well today, I think they got to feel good about where they are and what they did, and for everybody else, it's back to work. United States in 5th, they got to feel good about that, but at the same time, they have 2 plus 14, and it was tough wind conditions. That is better than the Swedish shooting performance. That is better than the French shooting performance, or about the same. So it's not like it's a particularly poor shooting performance compared to the field. But it shows you what the United States can do if they maybe shoot better than the field. They can actually be on the podium.
As Finland make their way into the finishing straight, and it's an interesting Finnish team this year, Chad, because they've brought up a few new names. And I'm sure that's something we'll get into over the course of the next week or so in particular. But it does feel, for a lot of these teams, that last year, going into this year, that the summer that we've just had was really transitional.
Yeah, I think a lot of people retired. They decided they didn't want to push on to the next Olympic Games. And it's opening up opportunities for some young athletes. And it's kind of exciting, but they do have to step up and reach that level that will be required of them to compete at the Olympics and actually be in it to win it.
Well, he knows all about competing at the top level, Vetle Sjostad Christensen, and the 33-year-old anchoring Norway to victory on Swedish snow.
And this is going to satisfy so many Norwegian fans, Ellen, the fact that the 2 new guys stepped in and they delivered.
Well, there has been plenty of hype around them. Martin Oldal, we speak about shooting speed. I don't know if that world record was ever confirmed, but of course last season that was what the highlights were all about, and well, the views in their number that some of his shooting performances got really said it all about his ability to garner the attention and really hold a world and global audience. And Isak Brake, he's not too far away from doing the same. As we see Austria over the line, they made a good start but faded and crossed the line in 19th. What I would say, Chad, though, is it's Belgium who will be the last over the line. 21 starters and 20 finishers today, which is always a good sign. We want to see as many of the teams across the line as possible.
And just like that, the first day of competition in biathlon season is in the books.
It is done and dusted, and of course we'll be back tomorrow. 2 afternoon races, a 2 o'clock start for the single mixed relay and a 4:40 start Central European time, of course, for both of those for the mixed relay. But here are the results from the first men's relay of the season. Norway back on top. They've had to be patient when it comes to their expectations on the World Cup. The world champions taking top spot here in Sweden. France, well, they thought they were out of it. A dramatic final lap, but couldn't quite do enough to bridge the gap to Norway. And Sweden unable to rally for a home victory, but still will stand on the podium. Great performances from Germany and the USA, just outside the podium places. And as we said, of 21 starters, we had 20 teams finish, just 1 lap team. Which, of course, we always like to see as many across the line as possible. Well, no one moving, Chad, because they all want to stay and, of course, watch the podium ceremony.
Pretty warm night in Sweden for this time of year, above freezing. It's kind of a rarity in December. So the Norwegian television interviewing the men of the hour. Ostersund Stadium, a site for the World Championships back in 2007 or 2008, excuse me.
Vetle, congratulations. How does it feel returning to closing the relay in first place, but at the same time adding some drama during the brawn?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I've missed that feeling, fighting with especially Seb and Erik on the last loop, last shooting. Looked like I was going to maybe shoot alone for my standing, but that wasn't the case when the wind turned and I had no idea where I'd missed. So I was lucky to only get one penalty loop and pushed hard for the second loop to have maybe one spare loop advantage, and yeah, call the size on the last shooting was nice.
But really, how did you regroup for this last shooting?
I just thought this is a new race, a new shooting. I'm still leading, you know. I have maybe one spare bullet on both Seb and Erik, and that's quite good. So I just felt good, tried to relax, breathe a lot, because it was quite calm when I entered the range, but it started breathing for my first shot, and yeah, it was a nice one-by-one shot.
You did an amazing job. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Well, Chad, Norway just got it right today, didn't they? And there you can see the scores, of course, after one race for the Men's World Cup relay score. They just got it right because they had the youth going out first, and when you listen to the analysis there from Vetle Sjostad Christensen, there's very few people who would be able to regroup in that manner to then put on that final standing shoot performance that he did and hold all the way to the line. In terms of a tactical decision from the coaches, that was bang on.
It was, and I don't know if anybody could have predicted that the wind would do what it did and land when it did on that last stage, that prone stage for Vetle. But I love the way that he described his process, and that is something like you say, not many people would have the wherewithal, just mentally, the mental strength to do what he did. It's a sign that he has done this a long time. He was the right guy to be in that situation. You could have put almost any other person. Well, Sturla probably could have handled it, but if you flipped Sturla or Vetle with one of the first two guys, the chances of them coming through that is far smaller than it was with Vetle, just from the experience factor. So it pays to have experience on your relay team, and Vetle Sjostad Christensen really brought home the win because of it, because most people would have melted down at that point.
Well, decisions to be made, of course, for tomorrow. 2 races, and we have the single mixed relay, which we've all started really, or all grown to know and love. It always brings the drama, the single mixed, and then of course the mixed relay as well. So decisions to be made, if they haven't already been, on who will roll out in those ones before a break on Monday. We then come back on Tuesday for the women's 15-kilometre individual, followed by the men's 20-kilometre, and then the 2 sprints before the 2 pursuits as well. It is a busy week of action, as we've alluded to. Look at the Nations Cup score. Of course, only after one competition today. Chad, you won't be with us tomorrow. It's former British biathlete Scott Dixon who is alongside me. So just get your predictions quickly for the single mixed and the mixed relay. Who are the ones to watch tomorrow?
Oh, it's so hard to tell if I don't know who the start order is, but I'd say that Norway always has a good shot at it. I would kind of expect Sebastian Samuelsson to pair up with one of the Norwegian or one of the Swedish women for the single mixed. He likes to do that, and they will be a favorite for sure. And you always gotta love Simone Ader and Lisa Theresa Hauser for Austria. They're kind of a sentimental favorite at this point in the single mixed relay. Mixed relay is wide open. I would say France is probably a pretty good bet. France and Norway, Germany maybe. Italy could be good too.
Italy is a great shout. Have had some very good success today. Didn't all go their way, of course, in the men's race, but there was those glimmers there, of course, as well, as they build towards an Olympic season, which culminates at home. Well, the medals are out. We are just waiting for the final moments as this crowd, well, they haven't got long to go to get back to the city centre, where I'm sure there'll be lots going on tonight. Just 2 kilometres outside of the city centre is this wonderful biathlon stadium, which carries so much history and heritage in the sport, really a spiritual home of biathlon and all who have come through it. Well, they had to fight for it. A bronze medal and third place for the Swedish quartet. Victor Vlant, Jesper Nalin, Martin Ponsaloma and Sebastian Samuelsson. Well, it's a good point to build from, Chad. They'll want to be more competitive with Norway this season. Surely that will be their target.
Yeah, and to do that, they're going to have to shoot better than they did today. Three penalties with 14 misses. Norway had one penalty with 10. It wasn't a huge gap, but 24 seconds separating the Norwegians from the Swedes. If they shoot even, they can compete, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a better performance in the shooting range from the Swedes than it takes on for the Norwegians for them to be in front of them, and they can do it. And see the look on Sebastian Samuelsson's face as he hears the high Norway in the crowd. Looking a little bit not loving that in his home stadium.
Well, the unbeaten streak, it comes to an end for France. Couldn't match Norway. Capitalise on the opportunity almost given to them by Vetle Sjåstad Christensen. And it is France who take the silver medal after a season of going unbeaten on the World Cup. They are a noisy bunch of travelling fans. And they grow in their number, the travelling contingent of French fans. Of course, helped and buoyed by the French success. Coming, of course, not just from the women's side as well, but from this quartet as well over the course of the last year. Silver medalists in Lenza Heider and silver medalists on the first men's relay of the World Cup season. Well, a new look Norway, but they are back on top. Patience paying off. We've had to wait the course of a season. But the pendulum swings back in the way of the Norwegian giants, led out by two Norwegian youngsters, Martin Uldal and Isak Frey, rising to the front. Now, Chad, just how exciting, particularly the first two names that we've just said, how exciting do you think they'll be over the course of the next season?
I think they sort of changed the whole feel of the Norwegian team. It changes the feel of the front of the field of competitors. Some of these athletes on this podium are getting older. I mean, you look at Sebastian Samuelsson, Martin Ponsaloma, they're going to be retiring pretty soon. And we're starting to see a new batch of athletes that we're going to start becoming familiar with. And Uldal and Frey are two of the leaders of the next generation, and it's going to be fun to watch them. cool though. Just the speed of his standing shooting, that alone is going to be a fun thing to track and follow and see him. You know you're going to see some races where he throws down some amazing shooting times and hits all 5, and we're all going to marvel. And I look forward to those days.
Our first look as well, of course, at Sturla Holmlagride, last season's total score winner. That's the target on his back this time round. How will he cope with that? Also that leadership role you feel as well with the retirement of the Bill brothers and this young crop of athletes coming through. But it is Norway who take the gold and top spot here on Swedish snow. Much to the distaste, of course, of Sebastian Samuelsson and his quartet, who take third. France sandwiched in the middle of them. Silver, last season's unbeatables. And what a race. And what a day of racing to kick-start the 25-26 BMW IBU World Cup season. Of course, another week of action to come in Ostersund, and we'll be back tomorrow with the single mixed relay and the mixed relay, all the action kicking off at 2 o'clock Central European time, and we hope you can join us then here on Eurovision Sport.
Thank you all for